To order. It's 7 o'clock. Please rise for the flag pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Looking for approval of the agenda.
So moved. I'll second it.
Louis moved to approve the agenda and Eugene seconded. All in favor of approving the agenda, say aye. Opposed, say nay. We have an agenda. Approval of the minutes from August 17th, 2023.
I move to approve.
Eugene Hansen moved to approve the minutes from August 17, 2023, and
Second.
Harley seconded it. All in favor of approval of the minutes, say aye. You don't approve, say nay.
I'm going to abstain because I wasn't in attendance.
Okay. One abstention. Or it passed. Minutes are approved. Updates, Board of Adjustment. Jordan, you're up.
So we had one, which will be our first petition here, where we approved a variance to build on prime soils. We had three more that don't pertain to this meeting exactly, but one was a septic system within the floodplain or flood fringe of a intermittent tributary. That was for John and Janice Campy. We had another prime soils variance for Metz out by Hart. And that was on a big parcel, so we won't need to do a PUP for that. And we had another one for Therese Grew down in on the way to down 61, which was a variance from the subdivision regulations to parcel off a little chunk of land there.
Okay, thank you. Anyone have any questions for him? Okay, thank you. County Board, Marcia.
Yes, okay, so we approved the meat processing application. The cell tower is on hold. We asked the particular party to provide some additional information. It's very difficult to get information, and the need is not necessarily from the person who's installing the tower. Yes, they are the applicant, but we're trying to get answers out of Verizon as to the need for that location. Because I think you're all aware that we have a tower right down 1.2 or approximately down the road in view. And I was able to get a hold of MnDOT, who owns that tower. And they said they have never been approached by Verizon to put any apparatuses on that tower. So that's a question. Why? If we got something in the neighborhood, why wouldn't we maximize utilization of that first? So we had the luxury of time to put it off till our October 10th meeting. And then just, if I could, just so information for future, the house on Homer. Remember, the view shed analysis was part of the reasoning that the county board denied it, is that you could possibly see the roof when the trees are all leafed out. So I tried to educate myself. Unfortunately, I was too late, but educate myself on view sheds. So I called the gentleman from St. Mary's, and I thought LiDAR information had to bounce off hard surfaces, buildings, tree trunks, land. And he said, no. I said, you're telling me LiDAR can bounce off an oak leaf? And he says it can't. But I know we, as a county, flew over and did LiDAR. It's been quite a few years ago, probably close to 20 years ago. So I asked him, the second question I asked him is, what database were you using to make this determination that you might see it when the leaves are all off? Well, the data was 15 years old. Now, you and I know trees change, shrubs change, they die, they grow, they shift and everything. But a view shed analysis was supposed to be used as a tool. And if you're using data that's 15 years old and you're expecting to have it bounce off of leaves on a tree, but that was the reasoning for the county board to deny it.
Hmm.
Always learn something.
Yeah.
Got to do your homework.
Thank you. All right, petitions, docket PC 092123-01. Consider the petition of Mark and Lori Tim and Ben and Desiree Tim. They want to allow a new residential building site of dwelling on less than 40 acres. Lou.
All right, good evening, everybody. Run you through a few slides here. Hopefully my clicker works. Doesn't look like it works, and oh, there it goes. Was that you? All right, so is there something I need to do? Oh, that might help. Now let's try it again. It worked. Okay. So as Mark said, it's a dwelling on less than 40 acres in Section 9 of Whitewater Township. This map kind of gives you the lay of the land as far as the location goes. It's in the very northwestern corner of Winona County. You can see on this map the green, kind of the light green lines. That's the Whitewater Wildlife Management Area. So to the north and east and to the south and west, they've got public land that they're abutting. If you're on County Road 41 and you go west, you're going to run into Plainview. If you go County Road 26 up to the northeast, you'll run into Weaver. And then County Road 74 to the south will run into Elba. So that kind of puts you in the area that we're in tonight for this petition. The property is approximately 290 acres. Again, this map shows the wildlife management area. You can see where it's abutting. It's all one parcel, one 290 acre parcel. The petitioners are proposing a 5 acre parcel split to accommodate a new dwelling. Of the 290 acre property, approximately 112 acres are cultivated, 167 wooded acres, and then about 11 acres in farmstead to give you an idea of how that breaks down. The petitioners are the son and daughter-in-law of the owners of the land. So it's kind of the next generation looking to build on the family farm. Shared driveway access. It's hard to see right here, but where that driveway comes off of the corner there on County Road 116, there is an access that goes up to the north to the neighboring property that abuts it just to the north. And it's hard to see, but there is a small dwelling there. It's not used regularly. I'm sure the petitioners can give a little bit more background if you're interested in that, but it's maybe a rustic cabin at this point, if it's even habitable. It appears to be pretty in pretty rough shape. But the access would be shared, so they'll use the same curb cut essentially, and then their driveway would immediately peel off to the east to the proposed building site. The primary reason for that was the highway department. They looked at the site and wanted the shared access. I think because of the corner, they didn't want two accesses so close together. So that worked out pretty good. We have class 3 soils on the property. As Jordan indicated, that was the subject of a variance earlier today. And that variance was granted. But this gives an idea of how that lays out on the property. It was just under the exemption. So if it was 39% class 3 soils, they would have been exempt from the standard. But they were just over, so.
Question on this whole thing of soils. Oh, is the woodland Is that class 3? Is that,
That it actually, the way our ordinance is written, that it's just the class 3 soils. It doesn't indicate whether it doesn't exempt the woodlands from being counted.
so is the woodland class 3? Do we know?
Parts
Does-
of it, just the corners to the south and east, and then to the very north and west.
Okay,
There's a little
so-
bit of woodland there.
Okay, so that, for maybe a future educational learning is maybe that, woodland, we should exempt from the soils percentage and such?
That could be something that could help out some people if that was something that you wanted to
Yeah.
look
So
at.
maybe
in the
just put it
future.
on a list of someday
Yeah,
to
it's-
discuss. And
Soils are on my list to discuss and hopefully bring before you guys again someday, but there's a lot of other things on that list too.
Because if we would have not counted the soils in this example, it probably wouldn't have needed that,
In
good
this,
chance.
in this case, it was probably close enough that might have put them over the edge to,
not
be
needed.
be able to exempt them if we had cut those pieces out.
Out.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's a good point
all right, thank you.
for future reference. The areas in the wooded areas there are steeper slopes and there is a drainage way there. So that's primarily the reason why that wasn't looked at for building site. Really, the only practical location on the property is on the cultivated area of the field. Go on to the next slide. I just have some photos here to kind of give you an idea of the lay of the land and what the neighborhood looks like. It is a really low density area, primarily agricultural in nature and wooded public lands, DNR lands. Few scattered farmsteads, but really not much as in the way of non-farm kind of dwellings, smaller parcels. But the arrow there on the map to the left is where the photo is being taken from, and towards the east. And you can see the access the way it is right now, and the proposed building site would be in front of those trees in the bean field. There's another photo from the south of the property looking back towards the access with the proposed parcel and building site to the right. And this is a photo from the access looking to the south with the proposed parcel would be to the left. As you can see, there's just farm fields. Then there's County Road 116 to the west of the access point, to give you a 360-degree aspect there. The Whitewater Township heard the request and decided not to make any comments. Didn't hear anything from them. I'm sure that the petitioners, if you want more and to hear what the conversation went like, she might be able to fill you in, but staff didn't receive anything other than the form and the no comments along with it. Recommendation, as always, is to take into account all the information, including public testimony, before making a decision based on the findings. Staff analysis, draft findings do support granting the petition, although there are two criteria that were not met. And they were primarily, they were the two that had to do with building and cultivated fields. So obviously the Board of Adjustment kind of addressed that earlier in the day. But even so, with that, the staff analysis and recommendation is to grant the variance. Should the Planning Commission decide to approve the petition, we have drafted 4 conditions for your consideration. Any questions for me at this point? Charlie?
Who's running the property now?
That'd be a good question for the petitioner. I guess I was under the impression that it was the Tims were farming the land, but they could probably.
Yeah, I
Sure.
can hop in.
Desiree, you'll have a chance here in just a moment. So. Just
Oh,
be
okay,
patient.
gotcha. Thank you.
Any other questions for Lou? Anybody? All righty, thank you.
I'm gonna forward this up to a site plan, so reference. And yeah, let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you. All right, now the petitioner, you're online and we're ready for you. You gotta list your name and address first, please.
My current address is 105 First Avenue Southeast, Plainview, Minnesota. Full name is Desiree Tim.
Okay. Now tell us why you'd like this.
Well, it's kind of been a dream for a long time to eventually go back to the family farm. My husband and I are both interested in his mom and dad do produce farming. So we've always had an interest in greenhouses and that kind of stuff. So the plan was to go in that side of the farm. That way we got plenty of privacy. We would take out the least amount of cropland as possible. And it just made sense as far as it already had a driveway there. Like the look of it. The current gentleman who's actually running the cropland is a relative. He's a cousin, Aaron Tim. He has already told us he is willing to rent out the land as long as we allow it. So the plan is to eventually just keep purchasing more and more acreage from his mom and dad and continue to let Aaron rent it out and run the cropland.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Does anyone have any questions for?
Are you the current owner?
No, so what it is, I'm the daughter-in-law. So my husband's parents, Mark and Lori, they own the 290-acre parcel. And we're just trying to get that 5 acres approved so Ben and I can get our name on that section of it. And like I said, hopefully down the road, continue to purchase the farm.
Okay, Marcia.
Question, the parcel that I think it's to the north, referred to as a rustic cabin area,
Yes.
do you need to have any right of way or easement agreements with them to use the common?
So, yeah, so the highway patrol gave us 4 different options. A couple of them, we would have needed his approval. But with the route that we decided to go, highway said we would not need his approval at all. The gentleman is Kevin Cook. A family knows him from long time ago. He, I believe, lives towards the cities now with another family member. The building that is there, it doesn't have a septic. It really has nothing. It's just, it's pretty much an abandoned cabin of sorts.
Okay, I get, as long as you don't need right of way, that clarifies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we purposely did it that way in case he ever does sell to somebody different. We wouldn't have any issues with the future neighbor.
That's a good thing. Thank you.
So the question I have, so your driveway comes off of his in the actual right of way, correct? So you don't need an easement?
As far as I understood it, we did not.
Yeah, because if
And
it's in the right of way, then yes, then you wouldn't need anything, but if it's not,
'cause
yeah.
Okay, if highway said.
If the highway department said it's okay, I guess.
yeah, and I have that email somewhere if you want me to forward it to somebody over there too.
No, it's just a matter, you need to protect
Okay.
yourself in the future when it gets
Okay.
recorded, when if you have to have it surveyed and have to record it, then make sure.
Okay.
How big is this parcel that this gentleman owns?
Oh, Kevin's. I don't know the exact number on it. Just based on looks, I think it's probably around I don't know, 8-10 acre. And maybe Lou would be able to tell you more on that, but I'm not really sure how large his is.
Pull up Beacon and look it up. Anybody else have any questions while Lou is busy searching
Just
first? Okay.
Wait till we get
Okay.
this answer and then.
This
10 acres.
kind of shows.
It's 10 acres, okay. Now, there is no sewer and there is no water?
No. At least
Not-
that's what we've always been told from people that live in the area.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else have any questions?
Have they got, Desiree, have you got the permits for your sewer and water already, or?
We have not done any of the permits. We wanted to make sure that the building plan was approved before we went ahead and did anything else.
Okay.
Any other questions for? Okay, no other questions. Thank you. Hang on the line. You got one yet, Eugene?
No.
Okay.
Are you done?
Yes, I was just going to say that
Um,
we're good for you for now. Just hang on, Desiree. We're gonna open the public
Okay.
hearing shortly.
I move that we open the public hearing.
Eugene made a motion to open the public hearing and Arlie seconded it. All in favor of opening the public hearing, say aye. Aye. Public hearing is now open. Anyone wishes to speak for or against this petition, please step forward, state your name and address and what you'd like to say. Ann, are you watching online there? Okay. If anyone wishes to speak for or against a petition, please step forward, state your name and what you'd like to say. For the third and final time, if anyone wishes to speak for or against a petition, please step forward, state your name and address and what you'd like to say.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second it.
Jordan made the motion to close the public hearing and Eugene seconded. All in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye. Aye. The public hearing is now closed.
Motion to approve the petition with the facts and findings.
Louis made the motion to approve with the conditions and findings of fact.
I'll second that.
And Jordan seconded it. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair, I have
Yes.
more, it's more for staff. Well, one for Desiree and more for staff. Desiree, the existing cropland, and it does say it's been tilled the last 10 years. Is that row crops or alfalfa? It's from the pictures, it's hard to say. Is it row crop, alfalfa, vegetables?
Yeah, right now it's got soybean.
Okay, so it is conventionally farmed.
Yep.
Okay, that's fine. Then maybe a question for Lou. We use the NRCS Web Soil Survey, and maybe you can send out a link. I can't seem to make that work at home. I can't get Winona County pulled up enough because we use that a lot. And then we use, of course, the Geological Atlas. Maybe there's a link for that. And then one that I just don't remember us using is on page 6, the final composite map. Is that something I don't remember?
It's from the comprehensive plan. So,
Have we been using it in other applications?
I mean, so you had to bring up the the composite map.
Like,
Um,
it's there.
The composite's a good question. It's just that it's the answer is it's part of the background and inventory of the comprehensive plan. So it's not part of the plan itself. It's the background and inventory of the plan.
Okay.
And that data was all from 2003 from the previous comp plan process.
Okay.
In 2014, when we updated the comprehensive plan, we used that same data and inventory to inform the 2014 plan. So essentially, it's the original background and inventory from the 2003 plan.
We're using old data again.
It's 20 years old now. So that's our future land use map. and our composite map. And the composite map is interesting. I can get that information to you.
Now,
I'm
maybe
sure we
just
can
if
find
you
it.
could- Whoever has, internet or whatever, send us links and.
It was
educate us.
a GIS analysis, and they do give a description of what that means and how it was supposed to be used. My reading of it is that it should be used more for determining where we place residential zoning districts and the subdivisions that are allowed within those residential districts. I don't think that the application personally, I didn't like that it was included as part of the criteria for a single family home, a single split out in the ag district.
Yeah.
I didn't think that was an appropriate use of that data,
Okay, well,
but we have it, and so we try to provide the information.
okay, well, we can all look at our own and see if we should be splitting it.
Yeah.
Okay, but if you could send that, maybe a link to that too, just again, you put it in there, so it
Yep.
drew my attention. Thank
Yeah,
you.
and a lot of that data that we access it all through our GIS information that we have internally. So that's how it's easiest for us to access it.
Right.
I understand that it's hard for everybody else to access it that way.
And
So,
get through the USDA mapping.
Mhm.
Yeah,
yeah.
okay, thank you.
All right, any other discussion, Eugene?
This is just a further recommendation off the recommendations about the, four conditions. I think we should make sure that it's in the minutes that at least I read all four of them and that it's on the record so that if we get to one that's more contentious, we haven't gotten into bad habits where we can get ourselves tangled up.
Do you want us to go through all the four of the?
No, I don't.
Okay,
I just want to make sure that it's in the record that we mentioned that all four of them should be met and that the property owner and everybody involved understands that realistically, in the future, this is the most important part of this conditional use permit.
Well, it's in the record anyway.
right, it's in the record, and he put it in his motion to make sure that findings of fact and the conditions
Are met.
are
with
met.
approval.
Well, yeah, I realize that.
Right, but I
But,
think where Gene's going is we've had past practices, past boards and past county attorneys and everything, where we read those into the record. So again, it's just a different change of how we're doing it.
you know,
It's in the record by simply being here and with my motion.
yeah, I understand that, but
Now, the next one, the next petition, we will go into them because we're changing some.
Okay.
So
All right.
that makes you.
Well, I just wanted to bring this up so that we all understood that this is a lot different than it was
Last time.
the last time I was on this planning commission. And that was because it wasn't too long before I was on the planning commission when, I don't think it was this county, but one county had gotten into real deep doo-doo. And Stephanie she stressed that every time we had a educational meeting. So, thank you.
All righty, any other discussion? If not, there is a motion and a second. So all in favor of approval of this petition, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Okay, the motion passed. Now, next time,
Maybe to, if I could, maybe to Gene's point is that this is just an advisory group. At the county board, we probably should be reading the exact conditions and everything, and we could do that.
Well,
'cause we're
That's your department,
Yeah.
Marcia.
Right, but I
Anyway.
mean, that's how that would,
I was still trying to talk to Desiree there. Your next thing is the county board. Yes, this is just an advisory committee. The next step in your journey is to the county board, which is Tuesday, October 10th at 9 a.m. That's when the county board will take up this petition, but this board has approved your petition, so good luck.
Thank you guys so much.
All righty. Now, is there anything else? That it?
I just wanted to say that we are paid the big bucks to read this carefully, so.
yes.
Okay, Docket PC 09-21-2302 to consider the petition of Bass Camp and Mary Bennett and Winona Homes to put a mobile home in a floodplain overlay zoning district flood fringe. Olivia, please come up here and
Before we even get started here, Gene made a good point out in the parking lot, and I think this is not, nobody was on here. We've approved things in Bass Camp in previous years. So is Bass Camp not considered a parcel? Is it every time one of the camper mobile homes needs to be replaced, we have to go through this same process? Because do they own the land, or they just, does the tenant own the land? Or is it the Bass Camp people that own the land?
Bass Camp Incorporated owns the property.
Okay, so it couldn't be covered by the conditional use permit that was put in place? I mean, it's been a while.
So anytime you're raising a structure in the floodplain, it requires a conditional use permit if it's on a means other than fill. So they're proposing to raise it with blocks, which requires a conditional use permit. So each structure is treated separately.
and it has to do with the DNR,
Well, I know.
correct? I mean, it's not, it's the DNR that says it has to be.
And my love for the DNR is very deep. Okay, I mean, it was a question because, you know, if we had a parcel of land and we got a conditional use permit, we should be good to go. But
It's in Rolling Stone Township, and the Rolling Stone Township didn't begin to understand the same thing. It's like, we know they have permission to put these there. Why do we need to
need
go
to do
through
it
this?
again.
We
Yeah,
didn't understand that.
yeah.
So-
Okay, all right. Well, clarification. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, so a brief overview. It is located in Bass Camp, which does own the property, like I mentioned. Rolling Stone Township, it is lot 29 of Bass Camp Resort. So you can see you take the main road in, and then you have to go north a ways to get to the area where Mary's home would be. And you did read the overview, but it's 3 parties are involved in the process. The property owner, which is Bass Camp, Winona Homes as the tenant's representative, who's the people that will be raising the structure and placing it there, and then Mary herself as the tenant of Bass Camp. It's located along Lock and Dam Lane, which is a private drive, as well as Bass Camp Lane is 2 off of 61 there. So these are some applicant created site plans. On the right there, you can see where the structure is going to be raised, outlined in yellow. And then on the left there is the elevation that they're proposing. The lowest floor would be 668 feet. The regulatory flood protection is 667. So they would be another foot above what the minimum would be for that structure. And they are proposing to raise it on like a blocking method to get it to that RFPE level.
How many feet raised do they have to get?
I couldn't tell you specifically what the ground elevation is, but I want to say it's about 4 to 6 feet. So this is a staff created site plan. You can see that shaded area, the hatched area, I should say, is the floodplain overlay. I did consult with DNR prior to tonight. It is considered flood fringe. As you know, there's an extensive history with Bass Camp, so we did have quite a bit of records already in place for establishing that RFPE level of 667. So they did confirm that while the applicants were working through the required information for their petition. There's also the ordinary high water level, which needs to be considered. We use the averages of existing structures according to code. So the minimum setback for the new structure would be 46 feet and change, and the structure is proposed to be 53 feet away. So they are meeting that setback as well. So some of the considerations, again, it is a joint application between 3 parties. Bass Camp Resort is an established commercial recreational campground resort. It's been permitted as a principal use under business and recreational zoning district. There is shoreland and floodplain zoning to consider. It would meet ordinary high water level setbacks if it's elevated in the proposed location. And there are 11 conditions drafted for your consideration tonight. And in consultation with the DNR, the conditions are there to ensure that the petition meets the standards that are in place. So a little bit of overview with photos. The manufactured home that Mary would be using is actually the one in red there. It's currently trailered, waiting for approval. So this is looking down Lock and Dam Lane. This is kind of a head-on shot looking southwest towards the new home. And then this is at the back looking up. And again, this is an established lot within Bass Camp. It's lot 29. There was a previous camper on the lot that did get moved out prior to Mary renting the space. The Rolling Stone Township did sign the township acknowledgement form indicating support at their August 14th meeting. So our recommendation would be that you consider all materials and testimony before making findings that support your decision. Our analysis and draft findings do support granting the petition as a CUP. And like I mentioned, there are 11 pretty hefty conditions to take into consideration prior to your decision. With that, are there any questions?
Questions? Eugene?
Now, this parcel is still owned by Bass Camp.
Correct. Mary would be a tenant, so she would be,
Well, should we be considering whether this is a CUP or what do we call the other one?
IUP?
IUP?
so this would be a permanently placed structure. The analysis was that there was no identifiable end date for when that structure would be removed.
So technically, the CUP goes on Bass Camp, correct? Because they're the ones that own the property.
Correct, yep.
So it's not Mary, but it's the Bass Camp that gets the CUP.
So then if Mary moves out, then Bass Camp could rent it to somebody else.
Trailer house on
Correct.
this.
Correct, if they're, I mean, the CUP will run with the land.
Yeah, okay, I understand.
Question, in the one picture, you have kind of like a fifth wheel camper. That's
Okay.
what was there? Could you just live in there? Is there rules against DNR rules about having that there? Or
There-
Not a permanent structure.
right, but I mean, what's the rules about a camper sitting there? If it sat there in perpetuity, you know?
We went through that-
I can't hear you, Louis.
We went through that before, that they can't live so many times, it's like camper.
But it is it's kind of unique because it is a recognized recreational campground, correct?
Correct, yep.
And yeah, we've got rules about if you put a
If you
camper out in
can't
the,
live there year round and stuff like that.
Yes, for campgrounds, campers are pretty normal in campgrounds, the seasonal campers that might pay for like a 6-month lease or something like that and bring a camper in. Floodplain DNR rules would require that camper to be road ready and able to be removed in case of flooding on short notice. Of course, the
here in the tire.
Mississippi River is something that it's a slow rise and it's not a flashy system, but generally those are removed at the end of the season and then brought back in after the spring floods of. Another piece that's part of those rules too is you see a lot of people like bringing in and adding decking, and some of these are somewhat I don't know, they're not able to easily be removed from the floodplain. Those are illegal and shouldn't be there by today's standards. So they should be, everything should be able to be removed at short notice. So just for reference.
Sure. Harley?
I see 28 and I assume 27. One of these pictures both of them are raised up, which would be virtually the same as what she's doing.
Correct. So
29.
667 is the golden standard of what the elevation needs to be at. She actually did mention that some of the neighbors did go higher. It's based on the design of the structure and how tall you want the stairs to be and things like that. So yeah, they are raised as well.
Any other questions?
I used to have a camper down there years ago, and just quite a few of them where we used to get out to that point were raised, and there was a lot of them that weren't, but over the last few years, a lot of them were raised up for the flood reasons. Just a note.
Any other questions for Lydia? That it? That's all you got?
Yeah,
Okay. All right.
thank you.
Your turn. Please come up and say your name and address and tell us why you want to live there.
Mary Benedict, number 5, Lock and Dam Lane, Bass Camp. That address is different than the one you have. I've lived in Winona County for 60-some years, right on Highway 14 going into St. Charles. My husband passed away 7 years ago. We lived at Hayward, Wisconsin in the summer and Gulf Shores in the winter, but I was too far away from my kids. So I rented an apartment in St. Charles and moved my park model down to Bass Camp. But now 7 years later, I am paying rent 7 months a year for the apartment. And I decided that I'd like to buy a mobile home, live full-time at Bass Camp. My son, the reason I'm on the site I'm now is the site that I'm going on, 29, is one of the very highest in the whole campground. There's a difference. If you come in, the lower part is considered a campground. Where I am, it's considered a mobile home park. There's a difference. And the elevation up where I am is very high. I don't know.
Any questions for her? Apparently you answered everyone's questions. Oh, Marcia's got one.
So,
Yes,
so you will own the structure, but Bass Camp owns the land
correct.
All right.
And I pay a monthly fee to live there.
to live there. Okay, but you own the structure.
Correct.
All right.
Anybody else? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Public hearing time.
A motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
Jordan moved to open the public hearing and Louis seconded. All in favor of opening the public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Public hearing is now open. Please step forward, state your name and address and what you'd like to say pertaining to this petition. No one's online? Okay. Anyone wish to speak for or against this petition, please step forward, state your name and address, and what you'd like to say. For the third and final time, if anyone would wish to speak about this petition for or against, speak now or forever hold your peace.
I move
Eugene.
that we close the public hearing.
Second that.
Eugene made the motion to close the public hearing and Jordan seconded. All in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye. Aye. Public hearing is now closed. Okay. I have a question, comment, or whatever on the condition number 6.
Which page are we on here?
Page number 42 of the packets, page 8 of the
42.
42. I don't know how to say this. How can we change that? What does it say in the, Olivia, can you please read it out of the official book there, what it has to be?
Or is it-
Zoning ordinance,
or is it
thank you.
just the DNR?
No. This is, she just shortened it and eliminated what we've already, she's already done. Because, okay, can you read it out of the zoning ordinance?
Yeah, so the certification allows for so it says the applicant shall be required to submit certification by a registered professional engineer, registered architect, or registered land surveyor that the finished fill and building elevations were accomplished in compliance with the provisions of this ordinance. So essentially, it widens the type of professional certification that you can have.
Because she already has one of those, but she does not have a registered land surveyor. So could we change that so it reads the same as the zoning ordinance?
And who did hers? Is it in here?
You don't do it until it's done. When it's all done
Then
and
you-
everything is done, then they have to measure and say, yes, it is up to code. So they can't do it until it's
So
done.
you're just saying not, it doesn't necessarily need to be a
Right, does not
registered land. surveyor,
right.
but
She
one of these
doesn't have to
other.
hire two.
So she doesn't have to hire two people because
Yeah.
the people that are putting it up there doing it can do it because they qualify under the zoning ordinance, but just not what's written here.
Yeah, if they meet one of those 3 registered certifications, then they would be allowed to do it.
I move that we change it so that whichever one of the 3 she had
Well, I would
in
just
here.
All
change
3.
it- I would just change it to all 3.
All right, just change it to all 3. Well, all right, I make a motion to change it to all
I'll
3.
second that.
Okay, Eugene made the motion to change it to what Olivia just wrote. So that it's all 3 of the, apparently, is that okay, Mr. Legal Person? Good, good,
Making
good.
sure we have it in the right order you guys wanted.
Right, right. And Jordan seconded it. Is there any other discussion on this motion to change the condition number 6? If not, we will vote on it. All in favor of changing it to put all 3 of them in there, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. That passed. Is there anything else in any of the conditions that you see that we should be looking at or that you're unhappy with? I mean, I think it's really,
I make a motion, we approve this petition with 11
amended conditions.
Yeah.
I mean, okay,
11 conditions.
including the amendment
As amended.
as amended.
Yes.
And the findings of fact. Okay,
I'll second that.
okay, Arlie made the motion to approve with the amended and Louis seconded. Discussion. You have discussion.
Yeah, question, maybe, I'm not sure who, but remember in the distant past when we approved these before, so Mary owns this little, but is she responsible, like, we're talking storage and process materials in number 3, storage of materials and equipment allowed, number 4. Is that her responsibility or is it the landowner, Bass Camp's responsibility?
Hers.
But how much land does she own? She doesn't own the land.
It's kind of, Mary?
No, I would, maybe legal. Mary doesn't, she's
Yeah.
not a lawyer.
Well,
She doesn't own the land. So I mean,
But
as a
what was
camp,
there,
as a
everybody
campground,
kinda-
but as a campground owner, whose responsibility it is to,
Ends up to being the landowner.
It should be the landowner.
right? So
I
I
mean-
mean, I don't know that we can hold, you know.
What's the
again,
question
this is-
exactly?
Well,
I'm sorry.
so you have us confused by having this as 3 people are applying. And
Right.
to me, it should be the landowner, not necessarily the person renting to put a house on it. So the question is like in 3 and 4, we're talking about storage of materials and removable area. So is it Mary's responsibility or is it mutually shared with the landowner, Bass Camp?
Well, ultimately, it is the responsibility of the landowner, but since there is a lease that she has, she's responsible for her stuff, I'm sure. So I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
Yeah, so I would kind of echo those concerns. So basically, when, there's a leaseholder, they have the right to quiet enjoyment of the property, as the legal profession says. And so the landowner can't essentially boss her around and tell her where to put her stuff or whatever. She has property rights over that parcel, although the CUP runs with the land. Therefore, it's kind of mutually enforceable against both of them. So it runs with the land. So after Mary moves out, if she does, it would still be there provided they don't tear down the structure. However, depending on which condition we're looking at, it's going to be more enforceable either against the property owner, if it's some type of condition with the actual land itself, or it'll be a condition enforceable against the tenant of that property if it's a condition relating to how the property is being used.
Like the septic one, obviously that wouldn't be the tenant, that would be the land owner, would be the septic one, correct? Because you pay your utilities bill and someone else takes care of it. So, I mean, I think
So yeah, that would be my take on the situation. There's pieces that you'd enforce against either the tenant at the time or the property owner, depending on what the concern was, if it was use related or if it was something kind of related to a fixture on the land.
Okay, so I think in my opinion, we should be granting Bath Camp a CUP, and any new structures they put in have to meet these regulations instead of every parcel having to do this.
But she
It seems-
owns the structure.
Right, but she's just leasing.
Yeah.
So
Kind of
it's
like
very
Lake
gray to
Village,
me.
Lake Village, or
but
something
if
like
in
that.
your philosophy, then we shouldn't be here because we've already done that.
Yes, exactly, exactly.
Long time ago.
I think we're complicating.
Making it harder
issue.
than it should be.
Yes, I think so. If Bass Camp has a conditional use permit, they understand any parcel that they change or move has to meet these criteria, then let them handle it instead of us piecemealing it together. That's just my opinion. They own the land.
Well, refer that to zoning and planning.
Yeah.
I will. That's
There you
future,
go.
future agenda. item.
Any other discussion?
I mean, I don't know, do the
Louis.
others agree
Okay,
or
Louis.
disagree?
Move it up. Is the sewer system, or is Bass Camp sewer system tied into one of the cities' works?
No
Anybody know?
idea.
There's no city around.
This is also, this is not.
This is all on-site
It's in New
septic
Orleans,
systems.
Louis.
Okay,
It's in New Orleans.
okay.
On the river.
Yeah, it's all,
It's-
it's all treated in the soil on the land there at
I understand.
on site.
It's not, they're not hooked up to the.
no municipal or collection system of any kind, no.
We'll pipe at the Wabasha.
Any other discussion? If not, we have a motion, a second. All in favor of approval of this, say aye.
Okay.
Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Motion passed. Okay, your next, now you got approval from this committee, but your next step is the county board, which meets on Tuesday, October 10th at 9 a.m. Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Enjoy retirement. Slowing down. Anything else that belongs forth in this meeting?
I would just like to pose the question and let people think about it. Our county board meeting, we hold one in the evening, and we just, within the last 6 months or so, I moved it up to 6 o'clock. Just to hopefully help staff, because they're kind of hanging out if they don't, if they're not close enough to go home and hanging out, better use of staff. I just would like somebody to maybe just consider it for future, if possibly we could move this planning up to 6 o'clock come maybe
We
January.
have temporarily moved it up for one meeting, that was, I recall, but
Yeah.
it does interfere with certain
Again,
people at work. if
Yeah,
They work.
well, and again, I'm just
Um,
asking, I'm thinking of staff and,
Yeah.
it gets dark really early in the winter, and it's, the drive home, if it's at 10 o'clock in the evening meeting, it's a little more treacherous.
Well, I
than
know,
maybe
but that might
8.
cause you to talk more if we started earlier and it'd still be the same time to get to.
I mean, I had to hang out at home and wait till to come in, but just to consider maybe
Yep.
next year.
Well, we can certainly talk about it, but that would be next year, Eugene.
I guess
Be a problem.
I'm not in favor of it
Okay.
personally. And I'm pretty sure that Mike and, what's the other?
Lynn,
Lynn,
Lynn gets off work at 6 usually.
yeah.
Okay.
So
okay,
I don't,
Sometime they
I
get
don't
something.
think it's gonna work for us
Okay,
individuals.
yeah. I'm
Now,
just Thinking.
I realize that, this is not, dairy community anymore, so, I don't have as much support as I used to have, but that's my personal opinion.
It's okay. I just thought I'd throw it out there. Thank you.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Okay. Jordan made the motion to adjourn and Louis seconded. All in favor of adjourning, say aye. We
Aye.
are adjourned.
Everybody.
7:50.